Hello,
Yeah.
everybody. How are you? We are back after a long absence. The Tao Eternally group is here, and we are happy to invite a number of people, with possibly a few more joining us very, very shortly. We want to say hello to a new face in Kelly. Kelly, how do I say your last name?
Gallagher.
Gallagher. Nice to meet you. Welcome to the group.
Thank you. It's fun to be here already.
Coming back after a long absence, but we've all had a long absence, is Shelley Brooks from across the water from me. Hey, Shelley, how you doing?
Great. Glad to meet all of these new people as well. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
And Lina, who was here in one of our more recent calls, although, it's still about 6, 7, 8 months back, but Lina was with us then, and she's back with us now. Nice to have you back.
Happy to be here. Honored to be invited back.
Always welcome. And of course, we have Hamid, who is now in a new location south of a certain border. I'm not sure how much I should be disclosing, so I'll keep it very broad. But Hamid looks very comfortable, and he's got his signature derby hat on. Actually, fedora, I believe you call it, correct?
It's a fake fedora. I guess I couldn't find fedora, so I bought this thing.
And from Calgary, Alberta, the man who started all of this, Randall Kaiser. How are you, man?
Hey.
Doing great. And yeah, I'm just south of Russia too, just like Hamid. So we're in the same area.
Cool. Sort of. Energetically speaking, probably is a good way to put it. So we're just, Randall came to me via communication. We're in fairly regular contact, either through email or through his YouTube channel or through Telegram. And he said, I'm feeling the itch. I want to visit with my friends again. I want the Tao Eternallys to have a meeting. So he talked to me in late August, and I said, give me a few weeks, because I want to wait till after Labor Day. I was just getting that we should wait until after Labor Day. So that's what they did. And now we're all here, and possibly a few more people joining us. But the one thing that was rolling around in my mind that I just wanted to kind of throw out and see how this organically falls into place for everyone is actually something that Shelley was talking about pre-recording, which is, the last 2 to 3 years has been incredible, like globally for everyone in their own unique way. And since we haven't seen each other, and in some cases never met each other before, we have gone through some things even in the last 6 months, and probably, like in my case, I know quite a bit of things. So I'm curious to get a little bit of an update from where you were 6 months ago to where you are today, and what kind of journeys or discoveries or things that you've encountered during that time. I'm just going to kind of open the floor, and I'm going to try to control it as little as possible this time and just see where things go. But if I do have 2 people kind of jump in at the same time, I'll pick a person and we'll go from there. Who feels the energy to spur this on and talk about their experience in the last 6 months to start it off?
I can go. Oh,
Okay.
Randy?
Lina, Randy will go right after Lina. We'll go with Lina first.
Okay. Oh my goodness. I have loved these last 2 years. What a powerful time to see reality and to see what's not, to see the fakery, to see the shenanigans, to see so much. I mean, it's just been like, wow. So just a lot of incredible opportunity to deepen in my truth. So the last 6 months has just been, I'm going to say, just grounding in the knowingness that we are headed towards the most incredible experience that any one of us in the multiverse could possibly be present for. It's like this massive fireworks party that's about to take place, and we got front row seats. So I am just super excited. And at the same time, it has really increased my compassion for those who, this is not going to be fireworks as in fun and enjoyable fireworks party. This is going to be a very uncomfortable explosion of their world. that is going to shatter so many. It is, I mean, I'm watching it with one of my sisters, and she's already, the cognitive dissonance is kicking in, but it's making her become a little bit more, eat a little humble pie and just start being more curious and say, you know what? I really would like to hear your opinion on this specific topic. And I said to her, I appreciate your sincerity, and I'll come back and share when I can sit down and really give this the attention and love that it deserves. So I'll be back, especially because it's on a public forum. It's on Facebook. That's where she started the conversation. So I love it. I love it because there's a lot of people been chiming in on her side, and they've been watching the sisters' conversation back and forth, and they're observing, and I think with probably a lot of respect and reverence, and biting their tongues, because they're seeing that there's three of us sisters that are see more clearly, and she is on the other side of the what we see. But anyhow, that little movement with my sister is just incredible. Just confirmation that there's movement within those who are not as aware. And I'm just thrilled. I mean, I just am genuinely thrilled. My New Earth community has been strengthening these past 2 years. The friends that are there, that vibe there, my New Earth economy that is getting built with peer-to-peer gifting and sharing and supporting each other. My just holistic medical practitioners who are all about the body knows how to heal itself, and the just amazing new things are building. And I'm like so thrilled to be part of the new that is coming up. And my work is to help people cross that bridge. And I see those who are there. I just love and respect the roles that they chose to play. And then I'm helping my clients cross the bridge wherever they are. I'm helping them cross the bridge. And it's just so freaking amazing. And then here I get to sit today and end the week with you lovely beings. It just doesn't get any better than this. So cheers with my water.
Cheers, Lina. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Amazing, amazing stuff. I pictured you in a Boy Scout uniform when you said you were kind of helping people across. So just there to guide and help. So fantastic. Love hearing that stuff. Randall, you said you had some things you wanted to share. Let's pass it over to you.
Sure. I mean, I just love this group because it's authentic ones is what we started it off with. TAO, the authentic ones. And when you're authentic, your path will never be the same as anybody else's. It's just going to be so unique, and seeing each of us develop in our own worlds, like it's just been a real pleasure, like Lina said, to watch this whole thing unfold the last few years, because we knew there was something better than what we saw prior to this fake thing that's spreading around. And the words, I don't even like to repeat them because it's just moronic language, but we knew had to be something better, and we'd all been reaching out and looking and seeking. But once we knew, and once we know the God mind, which is love, and that is what brought this group together, then it's like, wow, you go, do your thing, whatever that thing is. And we'll hook up later on, and tell our stories and share, experiences, which life is about. It's either experience or it's media, one of the two. We draw our reality from either our physical and mental experience, and spiritual, obviously, as well, or we draw it from media. So, we're still getting an experience, and we're still programming our own minds, and we're still creating our own reality, which is so beautiful. And when you know that, and when you see it unfold, like I was living 6 months ago in a the house next door in a room, and I could see that our banking business, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but our work with these off ledger accounts, these massive accounts that I've always talked about, I could see it moving forward. And well, I could move out of that house into this nicer house and have a room here. And then things just kind of kept unfolding. And now I'm the site manager, I guess you call it. I make up the rooms for the bed and breakfast, and I maintain the place, and I'm actually shifting it up. I'll just give you a quick little tour while we're at it.
Ooh.
I was doing a little painting yesterday, or I guess you'd call it staining. It's not paint.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, lovely.
Had a little party on the weekend here for the owners. I think it's a little windy where I was, so I'm gonna move over here. But it's such a little place, and just a view. Like, look at this is what I see off the balcony.
Oh, nice.
And I've shared it before with you, William. We've had actually a few videos from upstairs here, but now I've been just adding to it and expanding the story in this world, which is my little world, my little physical realm, and then just continuing to work in the banking system at these levels with the off ledger accounts, which it's pretty obvious that the government story, the other story that is Looniverse, when I like to use L's when I talk about the word world, and we live in a world that has love and logic, but the government is in a Looniverse legal world, and that legal Looniverse is not something I'm interested in. So that world, it's obvious that there are still people that want to continue that world, to continue that insanity of lack, driving the word lack. There's another L word for you that they really want to keep in our minds, rather than the word abundance and love and logic and those beautiful L words that we can insert into that world. But I'm just so happy to see that people came back and joined us again, William, because you never know in this world where people are going to be. Our buddy Lee, there's another L word, Lee, he touched base with us, and we would have loved to have him, but he's gone into a place where it's just so different, and the different is the only word. It's so unique, and he just had a little bit of a struggle the last couple of days and couldn't make it. But amazing to see how the authentic experience of us is leading us in different directions, but also leading us back to this little group with love, and that's all it's about in my mind, and I think in most of the people here. It's just love the experience and enjoy it, and then watch the love miracles happen. So there you go.
Thank you, Randall.
I
Hamid.
wanted to go next. So it's funny when you brought this up, William. I didn't think I have much to say, but then I'm like, wow, I have a lot to say. So basically, the more I live, the more I see that maybe my function in this reality, in this time, is to prove it to myself and maybe to other people that the things that I thought are going to break me are not going to break me. And my greatest fear for basically 50 years or 53 years was losing my mom. And it was something that I prayed for every single night, that God, please keep my mom for me. And I had created this imaginary reality where my mom would live another 15 years. So by the time I'm 70, I would be okay. I'm ready to let her go. And that didn't happen. And my mom passed away about 4 months ago or something. I think it was in May. And it is by the grace of the God, by grace of Spirit, that I have my dear friend Jenny, that showed me that when somebody passes, it's just a transition. And in some ways, I feel closer to my mom than when she was here in this physical 3D reality. And losing her, I don't see her losing. I see her just like being in another room, really. That's the way I feel. So that was the biggest thing I handled. And I handled that when, when there was a time that I didn't even know. And our reality being the way it is, I am here where I am, and my mom is in Canada, and I couldn't be there at her deathbed, and I couldn't be there at her funeral. And this is it was the greatest fear, the greatest pain that I had yet. And there was a time that when she was transitioning and my sister was with her, for 4 days, I didn't even know if my mom was going to make it or if she's not going to make it. I was in that space, and that was the hardest thing. And that was, again, where Jenny helped me. And I decided to say, I am gonna, because I was so trying to keep her here. But then I surrendered, that I said, if she needs to go, she needs to go. And then we discovered that, there was crazy spiritual things happening. Like, my cousin's daughter had kept a grave booked for 4 months for absolutely no reason. Like, she would call every week and she would keep the grave that would become my mom's grave 4 months before my mom even got sick. And it was so weird. And my mom had said informally to my sister that I want to be buried there, when nobody knew anything. So things like that. So that's one thing that happened. And then, I was living in this city in Mexico, and everything was great. But then, we were living there, and then there was this guy who bothered me a lot in ping pong about things. That was what I was doing, was playing ping pong with these people. And they had these certain rules that me not even knowing this rule, this guy really harassed me. And his harassment helped me move to this other city that I am here. It's only 10 minutes, but it's a world of difference because it is so much better. And I am thankful to this guy harassing me, making me say, fuck you, I'm gonna leave. I'm not keeping with this crap. And then finally, Nadia and I launched this YouTube channel. And I spent about 100 hours making these videos for kids based on a game, as a child's game. So I spent a lot of creativity and a lot of energy and a lot of love. And I'm like, if this thing crashes and burns, I don't know what to do. Because Nadia was of the opinion that it's going to be great, it's going to do amazing. And we launched this thing after 100 hours of work, 120 hours of work, and it's an absolute disaster. It goes nowhere. We get basically 2 subscribers. And we spend like $100 on advertising, and we get like 20 subscribers. And this is a month ago. And it was an absolute like stab in my back and broke my heart. But one thing that I have is that I don't quit. I just keep going, and I just keep pivoting, and I just keep pivoting, and I keep changing, and I keep changing. And we had made videos. I had spent 10 hours in Premiere and creating effects and creating these amazing stories for these kids that nobody would watch 10 seconds of it. So we pivoted and we pivoted and we pivoted. It's like, okay, fine. Right now, William, before I came to this call, I posted a video which was 3 seconds, 4 seconds long, 4 seconds long on YouTube. And it's some stupid thing that is so dumb. It had 4,000 views, and we got 30 subscribers. So that is how you pivot. It's like, okay, screw you. You're gonna play with me and you're gonna say, we are dumb, we want something dumb. I'll give you something dumb. Here you go. And it's kind of like, I don't care. This is not my platform to like share knowledge. I try to do that. Randall was my guest. I got deplatformed, 400 subscribers. I could make 400 subscribers and I got deplatformed. I had 100 videos I lost. I'm like, fine. I am doing this YouTube channel only to monetize. Okay. I don't care. I'm not trying here to promote goodness or light or whatever crap you want, I'll give it to you. And if you want a 4-second thing for a stupid cat to say, I like you, mommy, great. Oh, 222 likes and subscribers and views. I mean, who am I to stop you? You were dumb. I'm going to give you something dumb. I'm not here. So it's important to understand why we do what we do. If something is a business, you treat it as business and you're like, I'm going to pivot and I'm not going to have some high and lofty thing. And like, yes, if I want to talk to Kelly and talk about dreams, I would put that on Rumble and I would not be under the illusion that this is going to make me any money. And so if I say anything, really, I mean, in the last 2 years, but in this last year, what I have come to understand is that every time I think something is going to break my back, be a stab in my heart and kill me, it has happened to me. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm still alive. There you go.
Wow. That brought up some things for me. I think that might be a good time for me to pop in with some of my experience that I'd like to share. Because I think what I've noticed the most in my life is that I got this sense that I was being guided. And the more I stopped trying to do things in a certain way that I thought mentally was the right thing to do or the best thing to do, the easier that things would flow. And maybe that's not an uncommon thing for people who work in, more of the spiritual realm, but it was a different experience for me in that, like I'm an organizer, so I like to, there is a certain level of control that's involved there, but it's just interesting how, and I share the similarity with Hamid's story in that there were definitely things that I was afraid of happening, and in most cases they happened. But instead of being this awful thing that I made it out to be, it generally seemed to come and turn over a new leaf. That's something else for me to see. There was something else for me to experience or learn from that. For about a year, it seemed like every month, at the end of the month, I was always questioning, will I have enough money to pay the bills to be able to stay here, or will I have to go? And I was this close. I even gave notice one time, and yet I always seemed to find a way. And I don't like even use the word I, because I didn't feel like it was something that I did, except let go and surrender and trust. And that's all I did. And when I did that, things seemed to find their way. And I had observations that were quite eye-opening for me. I noticed how quickly, in my own experience, when there's a challenge or something that comes into my life, where do I go emotionally first? Most times I go into a place of victimhood. Oh, poor me. If people knew how hard I had it, bring in the violins and things like that. So I noticed that that's what I was feeling a lot. That was sort of my reflex reaction to, when things were challenging or didn't go seemingly my way. But as I progressed, I started to observe and notice that, hey, wait a minute, something else has flowered from this. Some beautiful thing has now sprouted up from that thing that I call crap. It's something beautiful has happened, something for me to see and to see in a different, unique way that I had never seen before. And it's fascinating. I'm trying to reach for an example, and I'm having a little bit of a hard time grabbing it. And I know I'm speaking in a little bit of generality, but that's what I was experiencing kind of over and over again. It was just little.
I just wanna interject. When
Yeah,
you say
I
you
mean,
don't remember what to say, I know you have been vocal about this, so I don't think it's a secret that you worked with me. You were my client, and when you worked with me as a client, you know, you were in basically you started in a total state of general anxiety and fear and kind of worry. And like 6 months later, after your 12 sessions was almost over, you're like, Hamid, I was sitting in my room and I was feeling good. Nothing had changed in my external reality, but somehow everything happening, I'm still feeling I am not having that anxiety. And that is gigantic. And what you're saying is something like that. These things are not necessarily huge, but they're tiny things that you discover inside yourself, their absence or presence.
Yeah, exactly. It may not seem like a big change, and yet it is. It is a very big change because it's a shift. It's a shift of, oh, I've got to do this, or I better do that, or that guru over there said I should do this in order to get that. And it's always about external, external, external. But the more I ran into these experiences, I started to realize, oh, okay, let's head into that thing that I'm afraid of and see what it'll show me. And it's always been amazing. Like every time it just shows me something else and says, oh, okay, so if that thing hadn't happened, then it wouldn't have led me to this, which brought me to this, that showed me a whole new way of looking at things or experiencing things. And it's just been amazing. And now it's more like I do feel, and I've seen this, like I know every time I come on a video or even talking with Randall and with Lee, that I'll mention Kyle Cease. I like Kyle, and I'm part of his group Evolving Out Loud, or Absolutely Everything Pass, I think he calls it. And right now he's doing these hot seats where he's doing one-on-ones on Zoom calls. And it's fascinating because he has this gift of being able to hear what a person is saying. And it's the way people word things, it's the way people say things that are hints that he catches, that he says, okay, this is what you're saying. And so often we find ourselves, and I include this myself in that, is that we put ourselves into a certain mindset. Oh, well, this bad thing happened, and then I go, oh, well, that's because I have a terrible mindset, or it's me, it's my fault, or and he'll stop us, he'll stop the individuals and say, it's not you, it's your pattern. And when you notice that and recognize that, and I won't say admit, but acknowledge that, it's quite fascinating, because then you separate yourself from that supposed bad habit or tendency of doing something. And there's this kind of release that happens for a lot of the people on those calls. And so I feel like I'm taking more of a backseat in a good way in my life, where I'm just observing and allowing life to direct me, the universe to direct me, God to direct me, and really letting go of my attachment to my judgment. My judgments are still there. They're always there. They're always yakking in the back of my mind. But what I notice now is that I don't necessarily make them real. I don't necessarily attach to them and say, oh, that's the way it is. That's because that's the way I perceive it. That's just a voice in my head that's saying what it's saying. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being there. I'm going to step back from that and just observe and see what comes from this. So for me, it's been more and more of that. I kind of feel like I've shared some of this before, but it feels like it's just a richer experience, a broadening of that kind of release, that kind of letting go, that kind of letting go and letting God. I like that expression. So
I feel that you have turned from a human doing into a human being, right? And so many people around us stuck in matrix are human doings. They're not human beings. And I just wanted to tell you, William, I have a new client. And when I started with you, work with you was really easy because you would get the wisdom, you would feel things. With this guy, he doesn't feel anything. No matter what the hell is happening outside him, he feels nothing. I have to intellectually make him say things so he can feel the impact of what is he at. And it is a pain which we could get somewhere, and within 6 months you had your inner child because your inner child was at the brink of coming out. With this guy, it's like he's in a suit, he's in a hole that I have to dig and dig and dig and intellectually make him see things, say that so that it lands on him, so that he feels that. And it was so different with you, and it was so much easier to work with you. So,
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and the cool thing I felt too was that it whenever you're working with someone, we've at least I will speak for myself. It's sort of like there's this conditioning that says that the teacher knows all, the student knows none, and the student is always learning from the teacher. But my experience is that the teacher learns just as much as the student does, and it's reciprocal. It's
the teacher is inside the goddamn student,
Yeah.
but you have to let the teacher come out. The idea that the teacher is somewhere out there, it's bullshit. It is not true, because how can I teach you something to you better than you teach you? It's impossible.
I think I'd like to segue along there because one of the things I'm noticing in this conversation is a thread of growth. And what makes people grow? Pain. It either crushes you, or like Lina said, it helped me build a bridge. The pain itself of missing my sister, for example, helped me build a bridge. The pain of being anxious about my livelihood, my well-being, made me, I transmute. So I think that the predicaments, and I'm just going to say that is all they are of the last few years, has put us in pain. And I think that's okay. I think but for that pain, there wouldn't have been growth on my part. I was stuck in a it kind of like Hamid was saying, I was stuck in the role of the expert. My title in the world out there is I'm the expert. And I was starting to believe that. And that's a huge trap. And so I was in literal pain with, some of these, what I think are ascension symptoms. And that's why I reached out to Hamid. And that's how I got to know Randy, and then William, and then Jenny. But for pain, I know that I'm a real stubborn person. I'm not gonna just think, well, I need to grow and expand now, and I need to change all my ideas about myself and the world. Okay, people don't do that sometimes unless they're under duress. So I'm grateful. I'm madly grateful for the opportunity to humble myself to my aloneness, the nature of the inescapable nature of that aloneness. I think has been the biggest gift, because it's forced me, like I said, under duress, to realize that I'm enough. Regardless of all these stories out there about, oh, the sky is falling, or no, the sky's not falling, or I'm going to help other people with an umbrella in case just stories, because I'm enough. I'm whatever comes, Okay. Like exactly what you said, William. You're you're co-creating now. Whereas before, but for the pain you felt in not doing so, you may never have learned that. And now you're more you as a result. And that's really why we're all here. Back to the authenticity that Randy was speaking of. Yeah, that's divine. That's just divine.
Awesome. Awesome. Randy really likes that. Shelley's applauding. Shelley, we haven't heard from you. How about you jump in? What struck you in these conversations, and what kind of changes have been going on in your world?
I first of all have to say, Hamid, my heart feels for you for having watched your mother drop her body. I heard that saying the other day. I'm just dropping the body, going back to spirit. Yeah. So and everyone's story. William, I'm so proud of you. And Kelly, I don't know you, but I can see your light shining, and everything is wonderful. Last 2 years. Well, I think actually the last time I had a meeting with you guys, it was kind of funny. I think we were talking about which wolf do you feed? You know, are we a lion or are we a wolf? Are we feeding ourselves fear or are we feeding ourselves love? And it's interesting after that particular thing, I had a conversation with a girlfriend because she had left a little message on messengers saying that she was in the hospital dying, and I'm like, what? Right. And I'm like, oh my god, like, and then it made me kind of reflect, thinking, well, you know, with COVID and stuff, we had connected, you know, she lives in another city and all that kind of stuff, so I reached out to her, and it ended up being that her friend was dying. So I kind of gave her my P's and Q's on death, and that, you know, we're spirit, and we're in this body for an experience, you know, and you know, we choose when we're up at the way station what life we're going to have, what lessons we're going to live, and of course we don't remember that when we come into the body. It's just it's how it unfolds, and you know, that's where free will comes in, because sometimes you want to do those lessons and sometimes you don't. And after I had that conversation with her, about 10 minutes later, I got a call telling me that my brother in arms had died of a heart attack the day before. And it was interesting because I kept on thinking a couple of days before that I should call him, that we hadn't spoken, you know, for a while and stuff. And you know, and then all of a sudden now I've been told this young man, you know, 53, had died of a heart attack. And I was like, wow, but I couldn't have the same kind of remorse because I had just given a conversation to my girlfriend about death. And I was like, oh, okay, universe, you were giving me that conversation for myself. And so I remember I was walking home one night and I'm like, okay, universe, I get it. He served his purpose. It was time for him to go. But why couldn't you have given him his moment? Because he had just met the girl he loved. He was going to get married, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, you know, why not give him that? You know? And I remember I came home and I had some cards and I was shuffling them and a card flew out and I picked it up, and it was called Loved Ones. And it was saying somebody you know has just passed on you, and they just want you to know that they're reaching out and hugging you, and we don't know our time. Right. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank you, universe. Right. And so my path has been really interesting for the last 2 years because I too started a group with some women and another guy. He's our soul sister, all over the world, and I've with them grown. You know, I might have been the one that suggested, hey, let's have these weekly meetings and let's talk about vulnerability. Let's speak our truths out. Let's investigate our imprints, and you know, and instead of running from them or hiding from them, let's actually be vulnerable and let's let it go. And so it's been brilliant for me to watch them. And so many times I've said to them, like, look where you are now, like, look where you were and who you were and the fear you are. And now you're exhibiting love. Like, you can now hit your heart and you're feeling, you know, the breath of God come into you. And, you know, you can have that moment of pause before you say something, you know, and, you know, I'll even touch, I'm probably going to go all over the place because I'm one of those people that I have so much information that I get downloaded with, but, you know, you guys were talking about, you know, fears and stuff. And there's a great scientist out there named David Bruce Lipton. And he's an epigenetist, and they now know that we're imprinted from the last trimester in the womb till 7 years old, right? And so whenever you get that, let's say somebody you're talking to says something or does something, and you automatically get reactive, your stomach goes, ugh, right? And it's the fight or flight mode, right? And I'm so grateful when I have those, because I go, okay, thank you, universe, for giving me something yet that is stuck in my heart that I got to pull that little sliver out. And okay, so show me what is the words that correlates with this. Is it worthiness? Is it, not lack of abundance or anything? And then once I have that I am statement, it's like, okay, I need to know when it was that I felt this, right? When's the last time I felt it? When's the first time I felt it? And, and I've taken, many people on that journey, and I always say to them, okay, you've gotten to that moment in time when you were 4 years old and your mother said, something, and your perception of it, because you don't know what she's going through, has created a belief about worthiness, love, and the whole thing about we relive the sins of our ancestors. Think about it. Your parents went through their things. They were kids at some point too. They were imprinted. So we all get this minuscule amount of imprints from generations ago, right? And and we're in a place right now where we're so mindful that we can actually pinpoint those things and go, oh, okay, I don't have to be like that anymore. And so I always say to people, when you get to that moment that you remember what it is, become your own guardian angel and say to that 4-year-old child, like, hey, look, I'm 54 years old and I finally have gotten it. I'm at peace. I'm in grace. I can now walk the planet and give love to every person I see. And if I have a moment or even a thought of judgment, I say to the universe, thank you for that, but I don't need that. I'm releasing it. Let it go. And I'm one of the other things I'm so mindful now of is also just speech and thought. If I have a thought where immediately I think it's, we always said to be pessimistic. We always have a scenario that we think about and we go, oh, well, make sure you put your shoes on because you might step in mud, right? Well, why do we do that, right? We're constantly programming ourselves to be in this kind of fear-based, negative-based thing. And so if I even have that thought, I go, no, universe, cancel that. I don't even need to speak it because it's pointless, right? They're on their journey. And if they don't want to wear shoes and they're going to step in mud, they're going to step in mud, right? But so because of that aspect and being aware of my thoughts and my words and my actions, I learned to listen. And it's funny. I remember when I first got that first thing in a meditation to listen, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I listen all the time. But there's different levels of listening, and so I always say the universe, once it takes you on a new rung of the ladder as you're climbing, you get new experiences. And so it started off with recognizing with listening was, you get that little voice in our head or in our gut. I used to always call it the angel and the devil sometimes because it would be back and forth. The angel would be saying, pick this up. And the devil would be like, no, you don't need that. But even the devil's wrong. I call it the void now. So one particular morning, I had just gotten my 3rd vaccination, and I was in the gas station to pick up a coffee, and I saw Gatorade, and I was like, why do I need Gatorade? And immediately I got this, well, Gatorade's for upset stomachs, blah 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 blah, and I'm like, but I'm not sick. And then I hear this, well, your son's sick, and I'm like, but is he really? Like, he had a lot of sugar yesterday. He's not sick. I'm not going to buy the Gatorade. Well, 3 hours later, I wish I had bought the Gatorade because I had a reaction. But I still didn't listen. So then the next day, it was Thanksgiving. So it was a year ago now. And it's amazing how a year can go by with listening. And I went to go get some groceries for the turkey dinner. And I saw the pickle jar in the fridge. And I thought, oh, I should get pickles. So when I get to the grocery store, I see the pickle jar, But then I'm like, do I really need pickles? Because there was pickles in the pickles, right? There was a pickle jar there, right? And then I go down the next aisle and I see the Gatorade, and I replay the whole thing. Don't you remember, Shelley, the Gatorade? You should have picked it up. But I still didn't listen. Get home, making up the supper. I say to the kids, hey, grab the pickles up, cut them up. Well, there's one pickle. And I'm like, oh my God, you should have listened. But what truly caused me to listen was probably the next day, actually. I went to work and I was with my girlfriend, and we both wanted to step outside to go to the bathroom because our bathroom is behind our salon area. And the back door changed where you actually have to have a key. And so as I was walking past, I see my phone and something says, take your phone. And I'm like, but I don't need my phone. Right. And then it was like, well, take your keys. And I'm like, we're just stepping out. Right. And I'm going to make sure to tell her not to lock the door or close the door. So she was behind me. I stepped through and I'm turning just to say, don't close the door. And it goes click. And I'm like, oh. So not listening cost me $150 because didn't have my phone to call anybody, had to end up using her phone to call a locksmith, which took him only 2 seconds to open up the door. I thought, I'm going to be a locksmith in my next life. So from there, I started to listen, and listening has changed now for me. It's no longer a voice that says something. I'll now get a flash that will say, I'll be walking home and something will show me go down that alley. And sometimes I go, oh, my feet are sore. I don't want to go down that alley. I'm like, fine, I'll go down that alley. And the gifts that the universe has been providing me with. And I'm so grateful now because I literally, I so believe in the magic that we create. And, we do create our own reality, quantum physics, all that stuff. I mean, I listen and read as much as I possibly can. I'm a subscriber to Gaia. I just love all the platforms and all the things that they talk about in sacred geometry and stuff like that. Crop circles, love that. It's amazing what, like I said, how, even though people believe we're in an end times, we're actually in a beginning time because we're now creating our realities. And so, I say this to my friends often, like, why do you need to take yourself into death and despair and all that stuff? And then say, but I don't believe that. And I said, you live all the sadness, but when you get to the happy part, you just kind of toss it aside. I said, why can't you be in happiness longer? Right? It's a choice. We wake up in the morning and the first thing that we do precedes our day. If we wake up and go, oh, it's Monday, I don't want to go to work. Well, then now we're going to have that mindset. And so I'm like, oh, great. It's another day. It's a new experience. What kind of adventure am I going to have today? And so I'm going to leave it off on this. So my mom has passed many years ago, and I talk with my mom and dad all the time in spirit and stuff. And my dad used to visit me all the time and drive me nuts by playing my radio louder and stuff. And until I told him to cease that, find new ways. And I would go for walks, and I started seeing a petal of a flower, but it was a fake flower. And I'd be thinking, oh, that's really interesting that there's these fake flowers that obviously somebody has lost and they've blown into the wind. But I'd be finding them in the most weirdest places, like, like not even my normal route, there would be a flower. And I was like, huh. So finally one day I was like, Shelley, you're finding these flowers for a reason. This is the universe, acknowledging that you're on the right path. This is your mother saying hi to you. This is your friend Alex saying hi to you, giving you this little moment of magic. So I thought, okay, the minute I see these flowers, I'll start picking them up. Well, once I made that conscious intent, they started showing up at my salon where I would come into work. And I'll give one interjection. One day I came to work on a Sunday and there was no flowers, nothing. I did my first 2 clients and I locked the door behind them because I had another 20 minutes. So I decided I'd go out the back and sit on this little ledge and have a coffee. And so as I step out the back door, I laugh because there's a flower right there at the door. And I'm like, oh, thanks, Mom. So then I sit on the ledge and they've been doing construction and there was this pile of gravel and I something says, look, and I turn to look at this gravel. Well, there's another flower on top of this pile of thing. And I'm like, oh, okay, that must be from Alex. Thanks, Alex. Right. So I go to pick that up. And as I pick that one up, I'm closer to the front door of our salon. And I see that there's a lady there asking to come in because she wanted to get her hair done. And I said, well, I'm booked for the day and I'm not Persian. I'm not doing any Persian people, but you might come on Monday. And I'm laughing because at her feet is a flower. Now, if you recall, I just closed that door like maybe 5 minutes before. And I'm just like, that's crazy. 3 flowers, right? So I step out from around the gate to go pick up this 3rd flower. And as I lean down to pick it up, something says, look to your left. So I quickly turned my head to the left, and about 6 feet away from me on the sidewalk, 3 flowers in a row. And I'm just like, okay, like how many flowers did we get today? Right. So I was going to say, this is one of the flowers because it's one of them is by my bed, my latest one. So it's everyone will text me, how many flowers did you find today? Right. I'm like, I don't know how many flowers are out there. Like, I mean, I have so many flowers in my garden now. My garden looks beautiful. It's all in my meditation spot. But, the other day I came home with 6 flowers because it was kind of the same thing. I was told to walk down this lane and I'm like, but I've walked down this lane yesterday. There was no flower. Minute I step on the lane, I'm like, oh, why do I know? Not that I didn't believe that I was going to find a flower, but, it's just like, why did I put that bit of negativity? So thank you for bringing that to my attention. Thank you, universe. So what I'm trying to say is everything that we go through, to listen and then to ask yourself the right questions, because most of the time when we ask ourselves the questions, like I did with the Gatorade, I was like, why do I need Gatorade? Immediately my mind, because that's all our mind is for, is memories, came up with, this is what Gatorade is for. And then of course the mind tried to get in there and saying, well, you don't really need it, right? I now don't ask myself, what is this? I'll say, do I need this? Because God only says yes or no. You don't get a storyline, you don't get anything. And so hence listening, that's all you got to do, and to stop shaming ourselves and the judgment, like I said, we don't need to be in judgment because everyone judges everybody else. Everyone's wearing a facade as you walk down the street. And I go, this is who I am. And if I decide today I'm going to wear crazy clown pants, I'm going to wear crazy clown pants because this gives me joy. And, I'm also aware too of how I spell. I use the word enjoy, right? I don't go en anymore. I actually separate it and I say enjoy to everybody. And I always say always, so I look at words and how we use them. And so that's all I can say. I can't go on, but you guys need to talk as well. So please talk.
Thank you, Shelley. I'm just
So,
looking
William,
at
I wanted
hands
to
and
say-
not, yeah, go ahead, Hamid.
So I work with signs. That's all I do. And most humans can't work with signs. I had a lovely client and a friend was looking for an apartment. She was looking for a 1-bedroom apartment, and she was extremely unsuccessful in finding something. Like she would find something, and then they would call her back and say, no, we are not interested, or it's rented or something, or they would change. It was really weird. And then I was on this mailing list, and I got, I had a guy, Nelson, who was, my client or something. And on this mailing list, he was saying that he wants to rent his apartment. He's looking for a roommate. So, and I had a call from Spirit. Spirit told me to say this to my friend. But she wasn't looking for a roommate. She was looking for a 1-bedroom. But the Spirit told me, tell her. So then I told her. And she's like, but that's not what I'm looking for. And I'm like, I know, but Spirit told me, so I'm telling you. And she's like, whatever, dude. So she went and saw the place anyway, right? Went and saw the place. And I said, so what do you think? And she's like, I kind of like it. And I'm like, okay. And then a few days passed, and I said, what do you feel about that? And she had a session with me. And she said, I'm really mad at the universe today. And I'm like, why? And she said, I was walking to come to your session today, and I was in the street, and I told Spirit, well, if I need to get this Nelson's guy's house, if it's the right thing, please show me a sign. And I walked, and the street's name was Nelson. And she was mad at this. She's like, damn it, I hate it. And like, but she ended up getting that place. And she stayed there she may still be living there after like 10 years. So that's all it was.
Okay, cool.
I'm just gonna interject one other thing. I always say our voice is the most important thing possible. You know, when you think about it, we all are God. We all breathe in God. We all have God inside of us. And you know, there's a parable that 3 Jewish men are talking about the name of God, and what was the most important part of God's name. And the first one was like, well, it's the first symbol. And the guy was like, well, no, it's the first sound. And then the third one said, no, it's actually the breath before you actually speak, because you're now taking in creation. And so I'm very consciously aware of my words. And I said this to my partner the other day, that we don't realize that when we speak negative, we attract negative. When we speak positive, we attract positive. And we manifest things constantly on a daily basis. And sometimes, like Hammy just said, with her going Nelson, going, right? And you know, my crazy experience with manifestation was February, actually, and the boyfriend and I were talking about childhood memories, and he was talking about the Smurfs. And I thought, oh, that's what I need to get him. I need to get him a Smurf for Valentine's. Well, to find a 1986 Smurf is virtually impossible. And I scoured and scoured. I was on all sorts of platforms and trying to find Smurfs. And we had gone out to his mom's place to get some soil, because my total backyard now is a greenery, all because I have a greenhouse. Thank you, universe. And we had all this soil, and we were throwing it over my fence. And the universe said, throw this, what I had in my hand, go in through the bushes, which are all laden with spiders and stuff, and throw it over that side of the fence. And I'm like, okay, universe tells me I got to go into the bushes. I'll go into the bushes. And I mean, the bushes are so compact, right? Like, yeah, spiders and stuff. And as I'm walking in, of course, Brad's like, what are you doing in there? You're getting all dirty. Get out. And I'm like, you know what? The universe told me I had to come in here and throw this over this side of the fence. And as I was getting closer to the fence, I looked down at the bottom of my fence and I see something. And I'm like, no way. And I said, you know what, Brad? I said, let me throw this over. And I said, and let me grab what the universe has left us. And so I don't even look at it. I knew where it was. I picked it up. I walked back out of, getting all the brambles in my face and stuff. I said, hold out your hand. And he's like, what? I said, the universe told me to go in there. And I said, and I've been looking for something for you. And I said, and they've manifested it. And I said, I don't know which one it is. I said, all I know is that I know what it is. Because the minute I saw it, I was like, no friggin' way, right? Like just how she said, Nelson, no friggin' way. I dropped the Smurf in his hand, and it was a Smurf carrying a light, and we call each other our lights, right? So, and then 3 weeks after that, I met a lady online that had a whole bunch of Smurfs, and I went to go pick them up, and that day got all messed up. And I'm like, ugh, can I come tomorrow after work? So my last little story about manifestation. And in the morning, the boyfriend and I were talking about these planter boxes that we had to build, but we needed brackets. And I said, you know what? The universe always provides. I said, we will find the 14, 17 brackets that we need. I go to work. Sure enough, I go on Marketplace, and there's a man down the street who has 17 brackets for like $1 each. And I'm like, thank you, universe, right? So I go pick them up. But the crazy thing is I didn't have any bags. Didn't think of I'm picking up 17 brackets. And as I'm walking, I see by the dumpster these 2 little knapsacks, like little bags and stuff. And I'm like, oh, thanks, universe. You saved my butt. I go pick up the brackets. I go pick up the Smurfs. The Smurfs were right beside the guy with the brackets. So even though I didn't go there the day before, I would have had to do 2 trips, right? So, and the last manifest that we did, we talked about wouldn't it be fun to sit on Lonsdale with balloons and suck on the heliums and laugh and make people suck on helium so they would laugh, because laughter is part of being in your heart. You know, I always say hit your heart and laugh, because that's all about healing. And we were coming home late at night, and I said to Brad that the universe was telling me to go one more stop past. And he's like, really? And I'm like, I know. They're telling me I got to go one more stop. I'm like, whatever. And as we get to this stop, we both look at each other and he goes, are you kidding me? And it was about 12:30 at night. And we step off the bus and there was 20 helium balloons tied to the post. And funnily, actually, it was just around the time when the war with Ukraine happened. And he goes, let's listen to the music. And he turns on his music. And the first song that came out was 99 Enough Balloons. And I started singing it. And then I was like, whoa. I said, you know, this song is talking about war. I said, as much as I know it's talking about the balloons as well. And I said, it's crazy that it came up on your thing. And I said, but we don't need to verbalize it. We can stop that. We can put love out. And so, you know, one of the things that I do, and I also belong to a thing called the Heart Math Institute. And it's where they're mapping the heart, and what they're actually realizing that the heart is actually the thing that generates all of our bodies. It's not the mind. It actually goes heart, mind, body. And they did a study where they hooked people up to electrodes and they showed them images. And some were happy images, some were sad images. And what they discovered was 3 seconds before the image actually occurred, the heart reacted. And then it sent the information to the brain, then to the body. And so I always say to people, if you're having those moments of, just hit your heart. That's all you got to do. And that hitting your heart actually causes you to breathe. And that taking in breath, you're taking in God. So you're having that pause. And to also be aware of how we speak, what we think, you know, what we are bringing into our own reality. So again, sorry, I'm going to mute myself.
No, that's fine. It was fabulous. I can see very positive reactions here from the different faces that I'm looking at too. But yeah, and I had a hard time when I was talking about my situations about giving an example, and you gave a whole bunch of great ones. So, I mean, but that's what I was experiencing. Things like that is like letting go, letting God. The more you set your ego mind aside and say, I have to do this or I have to do that, it's like, okay, in your case, some of your examples, you were talking about that sort of voice that was kind of questioning the universe and going, well, you know, but I don't really need that, or that doesn't make any sense, or, you know, there's always some excuse we can make if we want. But if we can step back from that long enough to just say, okay, I don't know, I'll check it out, let's see what happens. I mean, there were some fascinating things that you shared there. I mean, the Smurfs and the brackets, and like, holy man.
That's nothing. That's the tip of the iceberg. We actually constantly say that we really should be writing down everything that happens to us, because it's a daily occurrence for us.
Oh, I see a book in that future. If you go down that path, there's a really good book in that, I think.
Thank you.
Excuse me, but I'm going to say goodbye. It was lovely to connect with everybody. I've got to get ready for a client call here. So thank you all so much.
Nice
Lina,
meeting.
thank you. If there's any last little
you.
words you want to impart, now's the time to do it.
No, just fun to come together and just witness everybody's stories and shares and be witness as well. So thank you all so much.
Thank
Have
you,
a
Lina.
wonderful rest of your day. And Randy, you and I need to catch up. It's been too long, brother.
Sure.
All
Done.
right.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Lynn.
Bye, Lina.
William,
is there
any chance we could hear from Wiltshire today?
From whom?
Wiltshire.
I'm going to decline that right now, just because I feel like we're going to kind of wrap it up here.
Okay.
But another time, perhaps I would be open to it.
Okay, so the call is ending anyways. Okay.
I think so. I kind of get that feeling, unless people. I mean, I want to give everyone an opportunity to say something as well.
I just I understand you're declining. Are you still in contact? Is he still active?
I haven't been in contact very much, to be honest with you. And I want to share this, but I don't want to make it sound like an excuse, because I don't want to be making excuses. But I have noticed that I've been feeling really inspired since late June. So I haven't allowed myself that space or time to bring that voice out more. So and yeah, I'm feeling a little guilty about it in a
You
way
have
too.
been inspired. You have been inspired, but that's why you don't do it. What?
I been inspired to take certain actions in my life, and so I just haven't set time aside to allow that space in my life right now. But I have been feeling a little guilty about it, but I'm willing to let that go for now and just see what comes around around that.
Sure, man. Yeah, it was great seeing everybody. So I gotta go myself. So
Thank
take
you,
Bless-
care,
Hamid.
everybody.
Things.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Hamid. I feel like I want to pass it to Kelly for a minute. Kelly has anything that she would like to say, because we had you talk a little bit there and then we kind of drifted away, and wanted
Yeah,
to
I'll
give you a
listen
chance.
to Kelly and then I'll go.
The only other thought that I had when I was listening about manifestation, and this conversation's been lovely. I've just really appreciated really just attending at a deep level to what people are saying. But I think I'm excited. I'm excited for the opportunity for all of us and for everyone in the collective really to discover more about what their gifts are and to bring those forward in a way that the mind doesn't have to alter or like Shelley was saying, just okay, I know what that gift is, and I don't have to dilute it, I don't have to water it down, I don't have to keep it to myself. I've been really thinking about this idea of the empty vessel lately and how just ultimately powerful it is. And I know, Hamid, you helped me a lot get in touch with a lot of rage that I felt when this first all came down. And I just pulled it through and then it was gone. But gifts are the same way. They don't belong to you. You can't hang on to them. You're not intended to. But if I'm just excited to see more about what everybody's gifts are, and my own included, and to be braver in bringing them forward, just knowing that is how I connect with Great Spirit. That is who I am.
Thank you,
Well,
Kelly.
one more thing, because I
sorry.
always, whenever
Okay, guys, take care. Bye-bye.
universe out loud, we've just put this entire thing into the collective consciousness. So I can hardly wait to start seeing my emails and see what we've talked about come forth from other people. So thank you for that share, Kelly, because it's all about just being who you are and believing and loving yourself and loving others and just like I said, seeing the joy in life. Live and be in joy always. So I want to hear what our lovely cowboy man has to say. He's been so quiet. Finish us off, please.
Perfect. I couldn't have said it any better. Randall.
I'm just enjoying every minute of it. Enjoy. Thank you, Shelley. Yeah, it was a fun run, guys. Like touching base with everybody, hearing that theme of surrender and acceptance, and then just moving on without judgment. And that's basically where we've all been. It seems like, seeing and observing the outer experience, from other groups or from other people, and just not judging it, getting to the point of just being in joy and love. And I mean, my personal experience with this banking world, which is very hard to explain. I mean, I've tried with my YouTube channel and it's, it comes and goes. I've got a few followers there, but people are looking for results a lot, which you can't blame them when you start to bring up a story about funding or money or whatever. But it's focus more than anything, and continuing whichever path each of you are on or each of us are on, just remain focused. I mean, if it's the channeling that's bringing these beautiful miracles into Shelley's life, like she said, like or, listening to that and then channeling, being speaking it, I would assume, Shelley, but, thinking it and then watching the love, just transform things into miracles, Did you want to say?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's thrilling to see that, and all the people around me watch it happen and just observe, being ahead of serving, and I'm ready to serve, serve the one mind of God that is, ascending right now. And there's no doubt about it, like hearing the different experiences of all of you, and then going to my little Facebook feed, which only includes a couple hundred people or something, and I don't follow very many, but every aspect of these people's stories is the same. We're all ascending. We're all moving past this control mechanism, this world of man that was, it's the end of the world as we know it. Mother Earth is always going to be here, but the world is a human construct and it's changing, and it never will stop changing. It's perfect, moving toward complete. So I don't know. I love you guys, and I just thank you for coming and joining us today, and we'll go from there. Thanks, William.
Randall, thank you. I had an interesting thought on your comments, and it tied into some of Shelley's comments too, is a lot of times, like in Shelley's story, when she was talking about the transition where she was listening more and had to have those experiences that sort of brought that to her attention, is I kind of saw a correlation in your world too, Randall, is, because I watch your channel regularly, I watch your videos, and it does cross my mind a lot. I said, it must be challenging at times, although I know your intention isn't necessarily to have a lot of followers or whatever. That's not why you do what you do on YouTube. But it's like you talk about the same things, the messages that you work on, but there isn't, like you mentioned, there isn't that tangibility that you can see in the physical realm. So it makes it challenging for many people who are watching you, who are still stuck in the old way of looking at things, to really grasp hold of the concepts and things that you talk about. So that word trust comes to mind again, you have to work in that land of trust. Shelley's stories was about trust. It was about listening to that voice that says, go down an extra block, go down to the fence, throw it over the fence, and all of a sudden finding these things and just being willing to trust enough. And I think that's a transition we're heading toward as a whole, just based on the different stories that things and people have been sharing. So thank you for sharing that. Unless anyone else has any final words that they would like to share, I love to always call upon Randy for his final prayer to wrap things up. But I wanted to give anyone else one final word if they had anything else they wanted to share. Everyone's good. Randall, please sign us off with one of your lovely prayers, please.
Sure. Let's do the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. So, O cosmic breather of all radiance and vibration, soften the ground of our being and carve out a space within us where presence can abide. Fill us with creativity so that we may be empowered to bear the fruit of our mission. Let each of our actions bear fruit in accordance with our desire. Ours, mine, being abundance, sovereignty, health, love, and euphoria. Endow us with the wisdom to produce and share what each being needs to grow and flourish. And thank you for untangling the last thread of destiny that bound us as we release others from the entanglement of past mistakes. Do not let us be seduced by that which would divert us from our true purpose, and illuminate the opportunities of the present moment. For we are the ground, and the fruitful vision, the birth, power, and fulfillment, as all is gathered and made whole once again. Thanks, William. Peace, harmony, love, abundance, and freedom.
Don't forget the euphoria.
You got
Thanks,
it.
everybody.
Blessings, love, grace, and peace. All
Thank
to
you
you.
all. It was a pleasure to be here.
Yes.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.
Hi,
Guys,
Mo.
enjoy the sunshine.